We wanted to touch upon a remarkable story that was in The Sun yesterday, Annabel, about City Hall, which goes madder and madder by the day. We've just had the Parliament pass a new law against Just Stop Oil marching around, so hopefully that'll come to an end. But they seem to want to rewrite the English language over at City Hall. Sadiq Khan says, don't say ladies and gentlemen, don't say migrants, don't say illegal migrants. The world's gone a bit mad, hasn't it?
Yes, it has gone mad in this inclusivity guidance, the suggestion that ladies and gentlemen shouldn't be used lest it offend non-binary people. I actually happen to think, given how woke the Mayor of London is, that it's quite surprising he hasn't introduced something like this sooner, but inevitable nonetheless. I think it's actually really interesting in the context of the comments that Penny Mordaunt made earlier this week, that Tories should just forget about the culture wars. My own view is that that's the absolute opposite of what they should be doing. First, because it means we might lose the culture wars, but actually politically it's been quite advantageous for the Conservatives. They've managed to come out and actually define what a woman is. The culture wars ended up claiming some scalps, such as Nicola Sturgeon's. It has tied the Labour Party in knots, and I think if we capitulate to the woke progressives, then we're going to find ourselves in a situation where critical race theory is just accepted, where we have male rapists who have transitioned being housed in female prisons. Perhaps in light of the story earlier this week, we're going to have abortions, right up to term without any medical reasons. So I think that Penny Mordaunt was absolutely wrong, and that this sort of guidance, like Sadiq Khan has pushed out, is the kind of thing that we really should be pushing back against. And you have to wonder not only how many non-binary people there are out there, and I don't think that anybody wants to mistreat these people or make them feel as though they are being discriminated against, but how many of those non-binary people would actually be offended by the use of the term ladies and gentlemen, and how much is it simply the Mayor of London trying to signal his woke credentials?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, and my objection to an awful lot of this is that it sort of waters down language. Language has been evolving over a long period of time to become more specific rather than less specific, and when they say they want to call migrants people with insecure immigration status, I mean, it's just nonsense, isn't it? Or undocumented. Well, that doesn't mean anything, because you can be undocumented without being a migrant, in the same way you can be somebody with insecure immigration status but have nothing to do with this country.
I think that's right, and I think often this is actually deliberately being used in order to confuse people. So, for instance, the use of the term cis to describe women who are not transgender women. And of course, we had all of that controversy with the recent census and Stonewall somehow having a say in the terminology that was used in the census, which led to perhaps very misleading data on the number of people out there who identify as transgender, perhaps the number of people out there who identify as non-binary. And you're absolutely right, Mike, that we are watering down language, and you can say that you're doing so in order not to offend people, and perhaps it's done with the best of intentions, but it's going to throw up all sorts of problems of its own. So I think we just need to ensure that we continue to see reason and perhaps, listen as little as possible to the London Mayor.
Yeah, I think so. And the other astonishing sort of statistic that came out of there this week was the ULEZ fee. Apparently they've collected £224 million in ULEZ fees in 2022 in 1 year, so which basically means that he can't do without that now, because that is a massive amount of money firing into the budget for the Mayor of London's office and or TfL.
Yes, that's absolutely right. I mean, anybody who believes that ULEZ is designed to limit pollution in London, I think has been slightly misled by the Mayor. It's very much a consequence of him having blown a hole in TfL's finances early on in his tenure. Perhaps in order to elicit some support, some popularity, he froze fares. And the inevitable has happened. If you implement price caps, you are going to lead to the kind of financial difficulty that TfL now finds itself in. And so here we have this punitive measure being imposed on motorists that's going to particularly harm, white van man, perhaps single mums who need to get their children around, those on the lowest incomes. And it's just done because of a mistake that Sadiq made earlier in his tenure. But it's very easy to just blame, pollution, blame carbon emissions, blame the environment. And it's very difficult for people to push back against that.
Absolutely right. I don't know what you made of the excitement around Donald Trump yesterday. It was yesterday evening he was over in Miami attending yet another court hearing where this time he's being charged with a series of federal offences, all to do with taking away national security documents supposedly from the White House. But let's have a look at what he said afterwards, because once again it would appear that this is making him even more popular.
I think it's going great. I think it's a rigged deal here. We have a rigged country. We have a country that's corrupt. We have a country that's got no borders. We have a country that's got nothing but problems. We're a nation in decline, and then they do this stuff. And you see where the people are. We love the people, and you see where they are. You see the crowds and everything else. We have a country that is in decline like never before.
I mean, you got to give him credit. He doesn't ever look as if he's getting beaten by anything, does he? And in fact, perhaps he isn't.
No, I think that's absolutely right. The Republicans have got a number of problems. The first, of course, is that Trump, once again, is absorbing all of this oxygen. It's not really affecting him in the polls. Certainly, it's not affecting him with core Trump voters. You've got an open field now, quite a number of Republican governors and senior statespeople who've thrown their hat in the ring. That could, again, go in Trump's favour. And I suspect that if he is able to secure the Republican nomination, that he is in a very good position to win the US election. I mean, it's absolutely extraordinary that we could, in 2024, find that Donald Trump has once again been voted into the White House. But that says volumes about how unpopular Joe Biden is. And he has, you know, introduced measures that have driven the US economy into the ground. Once again, you know, he is absolutely wholeheartedly subscribing to the green agenda, implementing his Inflation Reduction Act that is hand out subsidies, tax breaks for green businesses, which ordinary working American people are going to have to pay for. So extraordinary though it is, we, you know, find ourselves once again in this position with US politics, and you can't really believe that in a population of 330 million, these are the two men who are going to be fighting for the White House.
It does seem quite incredible, doesn't it? But fascinating to watch nonetheless. Annabel, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Annabel Denham, Deputy Comment Editor at The Telegraph.